Lieutenant, I didn't recognize your voice. Huh? What was that? Will you repeat that, please?
What's wrong?
What? Well, how soon? Thank you. I'll be there in a few minutes.
Ken, what's the matter?
Oh, God help us. Mike has been booked for murder.
Insight. Stories of spiritual conflict in the 20th century. Insight.
We hear much talk these days about the generation gap. Those over 30 have one set of values, and those under 30 seem to have a different set. Is this gap any wider for us than for previous generations? If so, what characterizes the older generation? And what makes the younger generation different? Is it possible within the same family to accept this difference? Can father and son, mother and daughter, respect each other's values without compromising their own? Is it possible to bridge this gap with mutual love and respect so that the two generations can continue to communicate?
Around 7 o'clock. I'd deliver a pair of sandals in Westwood. I drove in along Wilshire Boulevard. It must have been about 7:30 when I got there. The guy paid me for the sandals, and...
What guy?
Steve Hampton. A fraternity brother.
You mean from before you dropped out of college?
Yeah, before I dropped out.
All right, what did you do after this Hampton paid you for the sandals?
He talked me into going to a meditation lecture. I was supposed to meet Sarah, but it was kind of tentative, so I decided to go along with Steve.
What time did you leave the lecture?
Around 10. And then I went over to Sarah's.
All right. Let's get the rest of it. What happened after you got to Sarah's?
I guess she was upset. Probably bugged you because I went to the meditation lecture.
She got you started on LSD, didn't she?
I probably would have started anyway.
I didn't ask you that.
Maybe it wasn't particularly beneficial to me.
Particularly beneficial?
It helped her a
lot. It
lot.
helped her to die when she was 19 years old. That's how much help she got from LSD.
How would you know? You never gave her 5 minutes of your time.
No, she wasn't the type you'd bring home to dinner, was she?
She was to me.
Dirty hair, dirty clothes, dirty mouth.
You ever heard of the problem of limitations? Well, you got it, Father. You got it.
Oh, I have. Well, you better take a look around, son. Do you know where you are? You're so far out of touch you don't know. You're in jail. You're up for murder.
Well, it's just beautiful, isn't it?
Yes, you can be flip about it. What do you think this is going to do to your mother? How about me? Everything I've worked for 25 years.
Well, now, I'd really hate to spoil your chances for becoming a judge. I mean, that would be downright pitiful.
Well, I'll tell you something. If I had it to do over, I would do it differently. Don't frustrate your children, they tell us. Allow them the freedom to develop. They're searching for the true meaning of their existence. Well, that's a lot of hogwash. My old man belted me around. I wish to God I'd done the same to you.
Has it ever occurred to you that I might not want to be like you?
Nobody asked you to be like me. All I wanted you to do was face up to your responsibilities. You weren't searching for anything. You didn't want to develop. You wanted to stink. You wanted to warp your mind with chemicals and get your kicks in that filthy garage in Venice.
I don't know why you make it sound like that. I love Sarah as much as you ever loved my mother.
Oh, my God, what a mess this is. What a mess. Guard! Why didn't I once in my life just belt you in the mouth?
Mike hasn't admitted anything, has he?
No. It's circumstantial so far. He says he doesn't know what happened, Maidie.
I don't understand.
Well, he's been taking that LSD. He blacked out completely.
I've known Mike since he was able to walk. I don't think he's got a malicious bone in his body.
How long has it been since you've seen him?
I don't know, about a year, I suppose.
Well, he doesn't look like that anymore, Maynard. He's someone else now. You know, he quit school 1 year before graduation to make sandals. That's his bag, as he calls it now. He's a sandalmaker. He makes sandals and sells them to his friends for $10 a throw.
Lots of people tried that bohemian bit for a while, you know.
I wish it were that romantic.
How long have you been on this LSD?
I don't know, Maynard. God knows the girl got him started on it, that girl.
Anything else? Heroin, anything like that?
No, he says no. I don't know. I can't even talk to him anymore. He has no respect for me, no respect for anyone, no ambition.
I'm really taking it.
She'll use it as an excuse for another nervous breakdown, you know her.
That a recording of Mike's statement? Want to listen to it? What kind of a defense you got, Ken?
Nothing.
I want to suggest you give it to somebody else. Don't do it yourself.
Somebody else? He's my son.
You know he's your son. Is that what you said? You can't talk to him. How do you expect to defend him? The thing is, you see, you feel what happened to him is the ultimate consequence of his behavior, so you're judging him, Ken. As an attorney, you've got no right to do that.
Food all right?
Lousy.
Yeah. I think I got the meditation book you wanted. Is that it?
Yeah, thanks.
Your mother and I saw one of those swamis on television one night. He sounded decent enough. I guess anything's better than LSD.
What do you think I went to that meditation lecture for? Just trying to drop it.
I don't know, son. I wish to God you had.
I couldn't. Sarah needed me.
She needed you. Why?
Because last night she was terrified. You don't know anything about her. She lost everything she ever had, her parents, her sister, the chance to study art, everything. I guess she must have thought that if I got into the meditation, she'd probably lose me too.
All right, Tell me something, Mike. Now, why the LSD? Why that? Was that the whole basis of your relationship with the girl?
No, it wasn't the whole basis of our relationship. We loved each other. It was just LSD gave us an extra dimension, a stronger feeling of togetherness.
I don't understand you. I wish I understood you. Your mother and I had all the togetherness we needed without resorting to dope.
Yeah, well, there were times when I think it would have helped.
What's that? What do you mean by that?
Nothing. Forget it.
What do you mean?
If it wasn't for me, you and Mother would have been split up 10 years ago, and you know it.
How can you say that?
What do you think, I'm dumb? I've got eyes and ears.
Well, you're wrong. You're dead wrong there. Your mother might have had some emotional problems. Yes, she did, but they didn't have anything to do with our relationship. You... We can't say 5 words to each other, can we? I came here to bring you some good news, Mike. I've had a long talk with Maynard Ballman. Now, he's agreed to handle your defense. Yes.
What for?
What for? He's the best trial lawyer in the business. That's what for.
Well, what's wrong with you?
Well, I'm going to help him all I can. Look, son, a surgeon doesn't operate on a member of his own family. It's the same way in law. You get emotionally involved and you lose perspective. It's
Maynard's idea, wasn't it?
There isn't a more qualified man in the world. Besides, he's known you since you were a little kid. He loves you.
Maynard loves publicity with a large capital P, and you know it.
He can get all the publicity he wants without crawling into this mess.
Oh, boy. Oh, you sold me out, didn't you?
I what? I sold you out. Now listen to me, boy. I'm your father, remember that? I spoon-fed you. I wiped your nose. I bought you your clothes, your car. I sent you to college. I paid for your education. I gave you every opportunity in this world. And for that you think I'm some kind of gross materialistic fool, don't you? Well, right now I am trying to save your life, and Maynard is going to get you an acquittal.
Has it ever occurred to you that I might not want an acquittal?
Kinda gives you the willies, don't it? Sure gonna seem funny renting this place to somebody else.
Do you know my son, Mrs. Pearl?
Never mix with my tenants. Making my business not to know any of their friends. Your son was polite. That's more than I can say for most of them.
You think that he did this?
Sarah Hunter was murdered between midnight and 2 in the morning. I saw Mike run out of here at exactly 1:30. What else can I think?
What do you mean he ran?
Mike got here a little after 10. I was out watering the backyard.
At 10 o'clock at night?
Anybody knows anything about gardening knows it's better to water after the sun goes down. I was rolling up the hose when Mike came through the gate. You have to come through the gate to get back here to the garage apartment. He said, "Good evening, Mrs. Pearl." Passed right on by me and into the apartment.
And you actually saw him enter, huh?
That's what I said, didn't I? Next time I saw your son was 1:30 when he left. And he was running.
You were still outside watering?
No, I was watching Spencer Tracy on the Late Show on television. Heard the gate. Rusty hinge, you know. Always know when somebody comes in or goes out.
Well, you always look to see who it is?
It's my property.
You sure it was Mike?
Positive.
Not somebody that looked like him?
No.
Somebody that could have been the same size?
There's nothing wrong with my eyes, mister. I know what I saw. I'm sorry for your son, but that can't change the truth.
Look, Mrs. Pearl, is it possible that someone else could have come up here after he left?
Not without me hearing that gate.
There's no back way?
Just the alley behind the garage, but it's fenced off.
People do climb fences, Mrs. Pearl.
Never happened before.
How long have you owned this property?
22 years.
In the 22 years, nobody's ever climbed that fence?
No. No one.
You know what I think, Mrs. Pearl? I think your evidence stinks. And when I get you on that witness stand, I'm going to rip you to shreds.
What time did you leave the lecture?
Around 10. And then I went straight to Sarah's.
Okay, what happened after you got to Sarah's apartment in Venice?
Well, she's kind of upset, so I guess it bugged her because I went to the meditation lecture.
Now, Mike, as far as you're concerned, everything was lovey-dovey.
Wait a minute, you're not going to put him on the stand?
Well, sure, why not? He's a good-looking boy. Get him a haircut, conservative suit, and he'll have that jury eating out of his hand, huh?
It's pretty risky, Maynard. That DA is brutal on cross-examination.
He can take care of himself. He's no broken-down wino. He's got a brain. Besides, he'll have plenty of time to prepare. Now, you don't have to testify, Mike, if you don't want to, according to the Fifth Amendment. judge is going to take great pains to explain to you that it really doesn't make any difference at all. I have never seen it fail. That if you take that Fifth Amendment, the jury's going to figure you have something to hide.
I want to testify, Maynard.
Good. Fine. Just as long as you don't mention that Sarah's little mood.
Why not?
Well, as it stands now, the DA's going to have a rough time coming up with a motive. That's the weakest point of his case. But if he finds out about Sarah, well, he'll blow that thing right out of proportion, make it sound like he had a real Donnybrook. He'll even convince old Lady Pearl that she heard a lot of angry shouting.
Look, she was upset, but it wasn't that serious. It didn't last that long.
Well, that's exactly why we're going to forget it.
Well, I thought the idea was to tell the truth around here.
Now, look, Mike, if you forget to mention something, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're a liar. One more point I want to cover in here, too.
In other words, you felt that by taking LSD with Sarah, you'd be giving her a feeling of security?
Yeah.
And so the two of you proceeded to take it?
Yeah.
Can you describe what happened?
You wouldn't understand.
Well, it doesn't matter. Go ahead.
Well, usually when we took it together, we had sort of a mutual experience. I guess I must have been affected by the meditation lecture because this time I felt isolated, alone. It was like a kind of nothingness. Then I was a rose.
You were what?
A rose. I turned into a rose. You want me to go on?
Please do. Yeah.
Well, I remember it was springtime. I could feel the wind. It was like being born. I had this wonderful feeling of newness and growth. Tiny drops of water were falling, soaking me. I was attached to a vine that was nourishing me.
You could actually feel that?
Yeah. It's as if I were actually the flower. I could feel my petals growing and expanding towards the sky and the warmth of the sun. And then something happened.
No, here's the part.
Sarah said something or did something, I don't remember, but something happened. The sky started melting and... the sun started melting in the sky, or... everything began to go black, dripping this dark, kind of shimmering liquid. And then I was conscious of my ego again. I was me, except I wasn't because I couldn't feel anything. Then I got panicked and started to run. I thought if I ran, everything would be all right. And there were dogs. These dogs were chasing me, ripping at my legs here. Teeth were like ice. I ran, but I couldn't get away. So finally, I knew I had to fight. It was my only chance, so I tore at them with my hands. I kicked and tore, and then I guess I passed out completely, because the next thing I knew, I was on the floor of my pad. Some cop was poking me in the ribs.
Sounds like you had what's known as a bad trip. You must have run all the way to the beach. And when you got there, you figured you were fighting those dogs, so you demolished your place and then you passed out.
Never happened like that before.
It didn't happen, period.
What are you talking about, Maidie?
Sit down a minute. No, sit. Now listen carefully to me. You were a rose. All right, you opened up your petals to the nice, warm sky. And when you passed out, you were still a rose, and that's it. That's all you remember. You don't know how you got to the beach. You don't even know you were there until that cops woke you up.
And what you're trying to say, Maynard, is that when I testify, you don't want me to mention the fact that my trip was a bummer. Is that it?
Well, now, look, figure it out for yourself, Mike. You see, Sarah said something or did something, and the next thing you know, you were ripping apart dogs. With your bare hands, I think you said.
You think I did it, Maynard? You think I strangled her?
No, I don't think you did it. But I've read enough about LSD to know that most of it is fantasy. But you ask your father. He'll tell you the average slob on the jury's got the mentality of a 12-year-old. He takes everything at face value. If he finds out that you were killing dogs, he's going to jump to the brilliantly original conclusion that you were killing Sarah.
Well, maybe I was.
I doubt that.
How do you know, Maynard? I don't.
Well, Mike, let's just say that I'm a pretty good judge of human nature, huh? Mind if I take this with me, Ken? I'd like to hear it a couple more times.
Go ahead. God?
Mike, don't worry about anything now. I'm in pretty good shape.
I want him off the case.
What?
If you don't do what I will.
Mike, he's the best. He's the best there is.
I guess you didn't understand me when I told you the way I felt. Now, maybe he thinks juries are stupid. Maybe he thinks you have to skirt issues and withhold evidence, but I call it lying and I don't want any part of it.
Do you think the district attorney's going to play this game 100% according to the rules?
I don't care what the district attorney does. I care what I do. Now, I'm willing to put my fate in the hands of a jury as long as they have the facts, but not Maynard's. I want them to know what actually happened. And if they decide that I'm guilty, then...
Do you want to spend the rest of your life in prison?
How do you think I'd feel? Always going around wondering whether I did it or not.
Oh, Mike, look, even the most enlightened jury isn't right. They're not right all the time. Just because you give them the actual facts, that doesn't mean that they're going to come up with an infallible conclusion.
It's just going to have to be good enough for me, that's all.
And what about your mother and me? We're part of you, too.
You were the one who lectured me for copping out. You stood right over there and you accused me of not having the guts to face up to my responsibilities. Hey, look, all right, you despise my generation for being dropouts and goof-offs, and I despise yours for being liars and hypocrites, but where do we draw the line on responsibility when it suits our own personal needs? Dad, all my life I heard you talk about the law. I get the distinct feeling that it doesn't have very much to do with justice. Maynard Bellmans win because they're smart, because they use little tricks and ploys. And the guys that have the money, they can get acquitted because they can afford to hire lawyers like Maynard will resort to those sort of tricks, but I don't know, what happens to the poor suckers who's got holes in their pockets or a different color skin? What happens to them?
It's not all like that, Mike.
Well, any at all is too much. That's just one of the reasons I quit living in the kind of society your generation created.
Oh, we didn't create it, son. And you don't change the world by dropping out of it.
I never wanted to change the world. I only wanted to change myself, to try to find a fullness, a completion beyond what you and Mother have settled for. Dad, look, I'm not trying to put you down or argue with you. It's just that there's got to be something more to life, that's all.
With what, Mike? What? LSD?
I thought so for a while. Maybe I'll find it in meditation. I don't know. I can't give you any answers. All I know is that I want an honest trial. I want the facts presented in an honest way, and then if the jury decides that I'm guilty, I want to be able to stand there and face them straight on. And, Dad, listen, I'm gonna need your help.
That's excellent. Good. All right, I'll get back to you. Ken, listen, I got great news. I just had a laboratory technician go over Mike's room with a fine-tooth comb. And he's established the fact that that's where Mike cut his hand, not in the girl's apartment. They found traces of his blood on a broken door panel. Must have put his fist through it when he was tearing the place apart. Also, there's another guy interested in that young lady, an out-of-work carpenter who drinks a lot. Here, let me get Al Kelly.
Wait a minute, Maynard. Before you tell me any more. Look, I just had a long talk with Mike, and he wants me to handle the case alone. You see, I guess he figures that I'm his father. I must take the responsibility. If I don't, if I'm not the whole show, I'm letting him down. You understand?
Yeah, I know. Well, that's a lot of junk.
No.
He just doesn't like me. I could see that when I talked to him yesterday. But what's that got to do with it anyway?
All right. It boils down to this, Maynard. He doesn't want to withhold any testimony, as you suggested. He wants to bear his conscience to the jury and take what they give him.
Oh, well, how do you feel about that?
Well, I'll tell you, I think the biggest mistake I made with Mike was not respecting his convictions years ago.
How about Millie? How's she feel?
I haven't talked to her yet.
You realize, of course, Ken, that if your 11th hour evangelism doesn't come off, Mike's the one that pays.
I know, but Mike feels that if he's acquitted because of some legal maneuvering, his life isn't worth living anyway. Now, he's got a sense of justice about this thing. I haven't seen anything like it in 20 years of law.
For God's sakes, Ken, what's the matter with you anyway? He's your son, he's your boy. Have you forgotten? We all felt scrupulous at 20, full of ideals and naive ideas about justice. In him, it's tolerable, but in you, it's absolutely criminal. I mean, how can you allow your son to offer himself up to that district attorney? How do you think he feels about justice anyway? Have you seen him lately? His mouth is watering. He pulls this thing off with any kind of style at all, and he figures he's got a good shot at the Attorney General's office. Ken, listen to me. You lose this one, and your son is liable to spend the major part of his life in jail. And when he's 30 years old, he might not feel so darned idealistic anymore. What does he do then, huh? When he wakes up and he finds himself surrounded with cons and perverts. I'll tell you what he does. He bashes his knuckles against the wall, and he curses you for letting it happen.
Maynard, he's made up his mind.
Listen to me. If you've ever listened to me before, listen to me now. Do it my way. We can get him off. I guarantee it. And a year from now, Mike will get down on his knees and he'll thank God for his deliverance.
Maynard, this is what he wants. Now, for once in my life, I'm going to give him the respect he deserves.
All right, Ken. You gotta do what you have to do. You sure picked a hell of a time to do it.
It's done. It's not going to be easy.
It never is it?
Is a production of the Paulist Fathers, a group of Catholic priests who serve their God by serving those outside their church.